Welcome to the Kent County Levy Court combined meeting this evening. We had a workshop just prior to this meeting, and we are holding this meeting at 555 Bay Road, Dover, Delaware, in Levy Court Chambers, room 203. Today is Tuesday, November 19th, 2024. Before we open the business meeting, I'll ask the acting county administrator to explain how those that would like to join us by WebEx and or phone can do so. Sir?
Thank you, Mr. President. This meeting is being held in person at 555 Bay Road, Dover, Delaware, in the Levy Court Chambers. We also are making it available via the internet through the WebEx. Participants can join us by phone or by computer during this meeting. There will be opportunities for public comment for those attending in person or online. When the President opens a public comment period, those attending in person may step forward to one of the two podiums and be recognized. If you are joining in person, may step up to the two podiums and be recognized. If you're joining us by phone and wish to comment, please press star 3, which will raise your electronic hand. Our operator will identify you and bring you into the meeting. Pressing star 6 will mute and unmute your line. If you're online, you will see a hand and a microphone icon in the bottom right of your screen. Please use those at the appropriate times. We ask guests to begin public comments by stating your name and address. For the record, the county attorney will administer an oath of affirmation to anyone giving testimony during the public hearing. We ask that public comments relate to the subject announced by the President. In addition to public hearings, there are 2 public comment periods, one at the beginning of the meeting for the agenda items and one near the end for the meeting for general comments. This meeting is being recorded and will follow the rules and procedures adopted by the Levy Court as well as the Mason Rules of Order. Back to you, Mr. President.
Thank you. At this time, we'll call the business meeting to order. I'll ask Commissioner Maston to lead us with the invocation, Commissioner Hall, Pledge of Allegiance, and Commissioner Sweeney, a moment of silence for our troops and first responders. All rise, please.
Heavenly Father, as we begin this meeting today, we bring your presence with us. We commit to using the gifts that you have blessed us with in your honor. Amen.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence for our military, law enforcement, firefighters, paramedics, and other first responders who have given their lives in the line of duty. Please remember these individuals who died in the line of duty, as well as keeping their families in your thoughts and prayers as they deal with the loss of their loved ones. Police Officer Enrique Martinez from the Chicago Police Department, Police Officer Evan Dunn from the Golden Police Department in Colorado, K-9 Titan from the Coweta County Sheriff's Office in Georgia, Fire Captain Garrett Miller from the Barstow Fire Protection District, California, Engineer Robert Sharkovich, Sr. from the Weathersfield Volunteer Fire Department in Connecticut, and Firefighter Marcelo Garcia III from the Houston Fire Department in Texas. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sweeney. Can we have a roll call, please, Mr. Tanaka?
Mr. Angel?
Present.
Mr. Hall?
Here.
Mr. Hertz?
Here.
Mrs. Maston?
Present.
Mr. Scott?
Here.
Mr. Sweeney?
Here.
Mr. Pepper?
Here.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 present.
Thank you. We do have a quorum. Prior to the adoption of the agenda, I'd like to amend the agenda by removing item bottom of the second page under new business resolution 4077. I'd like to remove that from the agenda for this evening. It'll be held at a later date to be determined. So I would need a motion for the adoption of this evening's agenda with the one item being removed.
Mr. President. Mr. President. Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Angel, second by Commissioner Scott. Any questions on the motion? See none. Can we have roll call, please, Mr. Tanaka?
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Hertz,
Yes.
Mrs. Maston,
Yes.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Mr. Pepper.
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Roll call reveals this evening's agenda has been adopted. Next item is consent agenda 24-10. There's one item on there. Need a motion for
And
that?
accept consent agenda 2410.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Maston, second by Commissioner Scott. Any questions? Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, can we have roll call again, please?
Mr. Angel,
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Hertz,
Yes.
Mrs. Maston,
Yes.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Mr. Pepper.
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Roll call reveals motion passed. Consent agenda 24-10 has been approved. The next item is something that we recently added to the agenda. It's public comments on agenda items. Now, this is the opportunity for anyone that may be here that would like to make public comments on something that is not covered under a public hearing. And so if you would like to make any kind of public comment about anything that's not on the public or under public hearing that's on this evening's agenda, now would be the time to do it, or you can wait till the end of the meeting. There's another time for public comments as well. Mark, anyone online?
If there's anyone joining us online that would like to make comments at this time, please indicate by raising your electronic hand. I see no hands raised, Mr. President.
Thank you. Okay, we're moving on. We have a couple presentations this evening. Resolution 4076, retirement of Audrey M. Stanford. Ms. Tanaka, can we read that into the official record, please?
Whereas the retirement of Audrey M. Stanford, an employee of Kent County, State of Delaware, from her duties as a Property Specialist 3, Department of Finance, Division of Assessment, presents a suitable opportunity for expressing the esteem in which we hold Audrey M. Stanford as a good and faithful public servant. Therefore, be it resolved that the County of Kent express its warmest appreciation and thanks to Audrey M. Stanford for the able and loyal manner in which she performed her public duties. Be it further resolved that this resolution be her evidence of a right to the pension provided by the Kent County Employees Retirement Program, and that this resolution be and hereby is incorporated into the official minutes of the November 19th, 2024 meeting of the Kent County Levy Court.
Okay, this is a resolution 4076. Do you need a motion?
So moved, Mr. President. Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Angel, second by Commissioner Scott to approve Resolution 4076. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Angel?
I don't know. Yes, she deserves it. 40 years of service. Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Hertz?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
I guess so. The building just won't be the same without her, but yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Roll call reveals Resolution 4076 has been approved by Levy Court. And Audrey, if you can meet us out front, we'll come down to, hate to say it, bid you farewell. You sure you want to do this? You sure you want to do this?
Will you stay?
Yeah,
Will we
it's a
make you
God
cry?
thing. It's a God thing. It's time for me to go.
You get the word, huh?
Yeah.
Audrey, thank you for all the years that you've spent in this building, the other building, and you know everything inside out about the county, and we certainly do appreciate you. You're, like I said, you're actually part of the building, and I'm going to miss seeing you around the building. And you always have a smile, and you always say hello. So, and I appreciate that. So, you take care of yourself, and do all those things on your bucket list, and enjoy life. So, and do whatever's next, because I know you're not going to do just nothing.
Yes, I came with the old building to the new building, and you were here. And I've learned one thing from you a lot. You're always smiling. You always let me know what is going on, whether I want to hear it or not. And that's the best thing I like, because I like to know what's going on, so I can make my decisions based on what's going on. So I hope your bucket list is full of life with your husband. Get out there and do some traveling. And I know we'll be in contact over the years to come. But you've been a great friend. Thank you.
Congratulations on all your years of service. I know you've represented us well, and I wish you nothing but the best of luck in the future.
Audrey, thank you for all the years of service. I was just joking around and asked you. I said it was probably easy for you, wasn't it? But 40 years of it, I'm sure you had your ups and downs and your trials. But you know, it speaks volume for you to hang in there for 40 years in service like you did. So thank you.
My dear Audrey, she was here before I got here, but it's been such a pleasure and such an honor. I can't even begin to express our experiences together. She's brought a lot of joy. We've had a lot of laughs, shared some tears, but a lot of trust and a lot of respect. And I love you dearly, and I wish you nothing but the best.
Wow, just to hear Susan's words, you should be tearing up by now and thinking, do I really want to do this? Look, 40 years, that is absolutely amazing. Over 40 years, you learned how to organize, how to manage your time. You don't know yet how much you're going to need that in retirement. So here's hoping life fills up whatever spaces you need to have filled. Congratulations.
Man, 40 years, I was still in high school. but congratulations. That's the only thing I could think of. I was like, man, that's a long time, but congratulations. I enjoy retirement.
Well, Commissioner Hertz just made me feel a little old, but wishing you all the best. Thanks so much for all you did for the county. Wish you all the best in retirement.
Audrey, thank you on behalf of all the employees here at the county building. As many of these is mentioned, when you see in your hallway that face just lights up, and congratulations on your retirement.
And in addition to the resolution, we have the Levy Court of Kent County, Delaware Service Award. The Levy Court of Kent County, Delaware is pleased to present this service award and express its sincere appreciation to Audrey Stanford for having faithfully completed 40 years of dedicated service as an employee of the government of Kent County, Delaware. In testimony whereof, the signature of the President of Kent County Levy Court is hereto affixed this 19th day of November 2024. And I just signed that, so it's real fresh. So, Audrey, again, we're really going to miss you here, and but we really want you to have the time of your life and do whatever's next, and I'm sure you'll do it well, just like you did everything here. So, congratulations and best of luck. So, I think Kelly wants to take a picture. You certainly can.
Okay. I just wanted to take this time to say thank you to everybody at Kent County that I work with. There's many people that I'm going to miss, and that's always in my heart. And that was the people when I first came here. People like Harriet McDonald, and Bertha Wyatt, who taught this little young girl some of the ropes, you know, and I miss them. But Kent County gave me the opportunity to come when my oldest son was 8 years old, and now he's retired from the Coast Guard. He's been to Harvard, but the support of some of the people from here at Kent County helped me to be able to do those things. Susan Durham has always supported me through some of the roughest times in my life. And she cried when I cried, and she was there to hug me and to support me. And so was Kent County Assessment. They have done the same thing for me. So this is not an easy task for me. And I'm so glad that my prayer has always been, God, please don't leave the people that I love in the hands of somebody who cannot take care of them properly and respectfully. And I'm glad some of those changes were done before I walk out this door. So again, I'm very, very glad. I'm very, very thankful for the respect, the unity that we have here at Kent County, and I hope it continues to be that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Very, very nice, very kind words. Thank you. We're not centered, are we? We're not centered. I was worried about being centered here. Is that good? Oh, Kelly. Do we have another one? Yeah. Okay, let's, we'll all take our seats and do the next one from behind the dais. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a presentation for Employee of the Month. That employee is not here this evening, but we will read it into our record only. So, Ms. Naka, can you handle that for us, please?
Kent County Department heads have selected Neil Martinez from the Planning Services Department as the December 2024 Employee of the Month. Neil is a Housing and Community Development Specialist 1 in the CDBG section of the Planning Services Office and started with Kent County in June 2021. He began his career with the county as a Maintenance Worker 1 in Facilities Management, quickly promoted to a Maintenance Worker 2 in February 2022. Neil then transferred to the Planning Services Department as a Housing and Community Development Specialist 1 in October 2022. Neil is responsible for managing the entire housing rehabilitation process from beginning to end. This includes preparing applications of assistance for qualifying Kent County residents, researching mortgages, liens, property ownership, assisting with monitoring all construction, repairs, or alterations done on the dwelling by contractors, researching target areas for eligible clients, organizing bid packages, holding pre-bid meetings and checking contractor references, assisting with home inspections, and determining the scope of work for the housing project. According to Director of Planning Services Sarah Kiefer, Neil's patience and quiet demeanor are tremendous assets in working with both rehabilitation clients and contractors. His technical skills, especially his HVAC certification, have enabled us to provide even better service to clients as well as assist staff in inspections and enforcement. Quite simply, Neil is a hard and dependable worker who not only assisted the community development section in managing a substantial backlog, but also ensured we did not fall behind when another staff member was out for extended leave. We are lucky to have Neil as part of the planning team. Congratulations, Neil, on a job well done. And he resides in Commissioner Hertz's and Pepper's districts. And the tribute reads, Kent County Levy Court, December 2024 Employee of the Month, Juan Neil Martinez, on this, the 19th day of November 2024. The Levy Court of Kent County, State of Delaware, does hereby recognize Juan N. Martinez, Housing and Community Specialist 1, Department of Planning Services, CDBG section, for his exceptional initiative, dedication, and conscientiousness in the delivery of services to the citizenry of the county.
Thank you. Juan is not here this evening, but we will make sure that he does receive this Employee of the Month tribute, and he'll have all the privileges that go along with being Employee of the Month, and go into the drawing for the Employee of the Year come next month. All right, that concludes our presentations for this evening, but now is time for public hearings. The first item on the agenda is petition to amend comprehensive plan map and zoning map. It falls under Commissioner Maston, which is ordinance LC 24-26. Commissioner Maston, I'll turn it over to you and Ms. Kiefer.
Ms. Kiefer? Good evening, Commissioners. First, just a word about how the hearing tonight will be conducted. This public hearing is being conducted for the purpose of giving the citizens of the county the opportunity to present testimony on the application before the levy court. Everyone will have a chance to speak. All statements are to be made from the podium at the front of the room. For the record, please give your name and address. Copies of any written statements or exhibits used during the hearing should be presented for identification and inclusion in the record. For each application before the levy court, the president will introduce the application. The levy court will then receive testimony from all of those in favor. Testimony will then be received from those who may be opposed. After everyone has had an opportunity to speak, the hearing on the application will be closed, and the levy court will take what action it deems appropriate. Levy court's decision will be based upon public hearing testimony given at this meeting and a recommendation submitted to the levy court by the Regional Planning Commission. I would ask that that recommendation be included by reference in the permanent record of this meeting established by the clerk of the peace. The public notice of this hearing was published in the October 30th, 2024 edition of the Delaware State News. The ordinance before levy court tonight, LC 2426, is an application to amend the zoning map and the comprehensive plan future land use map. The site itself is just under 82 acres on the northeast corner of South DuPont Boulevard and Twin Willows Road, just southeast of Smyrna. It's currently zoned BG, general business, and the application is to rezone it to RM, multifamily residential. The Planning Commission held hearings on both October 3rd, and they continued it to November 7th, and ultimately voted to recommend approval of the ordinance, citing that the subject site is actually identified as a town area in the 2018 comprehensive plan, which calls for medium to high density. It's also located largely in investment level 2 in the state strategies plan. And then finally, it's compatible with the surrounding area, in fact, located between Route 13 and SR1 with existing residential development around it. So again, this comes with a recommendation for approval. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Ms. Kiefer? Any questions? Mr. Sweeney?
Thank you, sir. Ms. Kiefer, This property wasn't always BG, hasn't it? It's not been too long ago, it was agricultural, wasn't it?
I'm not aware of that.
I thought that it was switched to BG when Smyrna School District was looking for an expansion.
No, they did not rezone it. They have looked at it.
Okay, but it was not, it did not
But
have to be rezoned?
It
for
wasn't
school?
rezoned. They ultimately didn't pursue anything on
Okay.
that site.
To the best of your knowledge, have all of the legal issues of ownership been resolved? To the
best of my
satisfaction?
knowledge.
Yeah. To the
and-
satisfaction of the county? We're not getting into something?
Ultimately, it's been resolved by Chancery Court. The question of
Okay.
ownership is not before the levy court. The question of zoning
Okay,
is before the levy court.
thanks.
Any other questions? Commissioner Scott?
Ms. Kiefer, it backs up now to, I just want to confirm basically that it's already backed up to medium-density residential as it stands, correct?
Right now, it's zoned BG.
Correct, but the property...
There is an adjacent property that is also, I believe, RMH, yes.
Yes, that's what I just wanted to confirm. Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other questions? I don't see any. Thank you, Ms. Kiefer. Appreciate it. Okay, at this time, we will open the public hearing on ordinance LC 24-26. Open it to the public and anyone who would like to come forward and address levy court and tell us why this should be granted by levy court. So in other words, anyone in favor of ordinance LC 24-26, please come forward and offer testimony before levy court. Please give us your name and address and be sworn or affirmed if you are not an attorney.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Content. I work with K. Hovnanian Homes. Our business address is 2499 South DuPont Boulevard, Smyrna, Delaware, 19977.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
You proceed.
Thank you, Commissioners, for the opportunity to come and present another project to you. In this case, we're looking at a rezoning of the property that has been previously described, situated in between Route 13 and Route 1. As you can see here, we have the parcel outlined. It is currently overgrown with trees, but just 10 years ago, it did sit as mostly an agricultural field. I think the last time it was farmed was somewhere between 10 and 15 years ago. And here's an aerial view. You can see the parcel with its relative proximity to various routes of travel, and it does sit just south of a residential mobile home park and to the north of both a low-density and medium-density communities at Twin Willows. And I know we've covered, or it was already discussed about the comprehensive plan and where it sits, but this just gives you an idea of what the current plan calls for in that area, and we are, of course, asking for a revision to that plan. And we are asking for a downzoning from business general to RM, or multifamily residential. While this zoning does allow us to go up to 10 units per acre, we see our project as more of a medium density, but there are some advantages with going with RM versus, say, RS5. So that's why we're seeking RM for this project. And we're also seeking an amendment to the comprehensive plan to change that designation. So I wanted to go through, and I know you guys are well aware of the standards of review for this type of change, but I wanted to go through them point by point to show that we are compliant with this type of request. And so we'll start with the beginning standard review. Map amendments shall be granted or denied based on the following conditions. The first one was that there was a mistake in the original zoning, and there was no mistake in this zoning. So we'll move on from section 1. The second is the proposed zoning change results in consistency between the zoning classification of the property and the area around it, and the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan has changed a few times over the last few decades. The property has changed its designation a few times, and really we're looking at bringing it into congruency with the area since it is primarily residential at this point. Section 3, transportation facilities, water, sewer systems, storm drainage, school systems, and fire suppression can support that change. And so we'll start with transportation facilities, and I'll show you a map on the next page. Subject site is located right on Route 13, which already has plenty of capacity for this type of community. It sits very well located between the South Smyrna and North Dover exits for Route 1, and it also has an adjacent road in Twin Willows Road. It also sits just north, I'm sure you guys are familiar with the Cheswold TID. That project boundary goes up to Garrison Lake. However, it extends beyond that in the areas that they're studying and plan for improvement. You can see our subject site here as the star, and the segments in purple are the 2 roads that we will have frontage on, and the intersection of Twin Willows and 13 is the green dot, which is another area that is being included in the Cheswold TID. And with approval of rezoning, when we go for the TIS, DelDOT will make a decision as to whether or not we need to do a full TIS or if they're going to include this property in the TID and oversee all of those improvements. Moving on, we've got the water system. We are in the Artesian CPCN. There is water service along the frontage of the site as it stands, so we wouldn't have to bring it very far. And then this is also surrounded by Kent County sanitary sewer districts. This property is not yet in a sewer district, so with rezoning, we would go through the process of a technical feasibility study with Public Works to determine the capacity. In preliminary talks with Brian Hall, they do believe that there's plenty of capacity in that area. We actually, on the backside near the mobile home park, there is 1 pump station, and then across the street there is another pump station, and we feel that we will have adequate service to that parcel. But of course, that determination and the acceptance of a sewer into a sewer district will come at a point in the future. And you can see, again, you can see it here in the water and sewer access. As pointed out, there's a pump station approximately here and one over here on the other side of Route 13. Continuing on, storm drains. As you know, Kent Conservation oversees most of this, so that will be entirely under their purview to determine what our impact will be and how we will mitigate that. And then fire suppression facilities, of course, the State Fire Marshal's office. Once we get to the point of a preliminary plan and actual construction drawings, we'll review that, and this property is located within Station 44 Citizens Hose Company district. Moving on to school systems, in talking with the Smyrna School District and looking at the information that they had available on their website, right now the chart on your left here is a projection that they did in 2020 about total enrollment and capacity. They anticipated to have capacity for about 7,800 students in the year 2024. Based on their FY23 document, they are around 6,067 students. They did not have their 2024 information published, but I believe it's a little bit higher than that. But they also understand that there's a lot of growth in this area. For those of you who live in that area, you know that there were referendums over the last year, and the express intent of that is to expand 2 of their schools, which are currently underway, and then to build a new intermediate school, again, to add more capacity. So they're not at capacity according to their documents, and they are planning to add more capacity in the future, and we will, of course, work closely with them once we have a preliminary plan to determine if there are any other additions that need to be made in order to accommodate our project. Moving on to requirement number 4, there's compatibility between the uses of this property as rezoned and the area, and as we pointed out already, the entire area is surrounded by residential at this point. There are some small plots of business and highway commercial, but primarily it's residential in that area. And as you can see, we have a map here that shows the other subdivisions that are around us. Some of the primary type of subdivision here is single-family homes, but just to our north, again, we have a residential mobile home park, and to the south, we have single families mixed in with townhomes. And at this point, I'd like to bring up Robert Penza, who's the attorney, just to answer any questions that you may have and give a little history of the project or of the parcel and how we got to where we are now.
Good evening. Commissioners. I'm Robert Penza. I'm a Delaware licensed attorney with Polsinelli. I reside at 2501 Kingman Drive in Wilmington, Delaware. I represent 3 of the 4 owners of the property: Dawn Ellery, Gwen Rinaldi, who's here. She drove 2 hours to be here tonight, and Robin Krakowski. And the 4th owner is Patricia Gibbs. And Gwen Rinaldi will testify on behalf of herself directly to you and her sisters that she's in favor of this rezoning, and she believes it's in the best interests of their family to do so. But I wanted to say, briefly how these 4 individuals ended up owning this property. They inherited it. Patricia Gibbs inherited it from her parents, along with her brother, Lawrence Gibbs Jr., who was the father of my 3 clients, the daughters. So when their father, Lawrence Gibbs Jr., passed away, then the 3 daughters, Gwen Rinaldi, who's here, and her 2 sisters, inherited from their father. And title passed through trusts set up by their grandparents and Patricia Gibbs' parents. And so years ago, the 4 of them couldn't quite agree on how to sell the property and who to sell it to, and those disagreements resulted in a Court of Chancery partition action that I think Ms. Keever mentioned something about in her presentation to you. And the Court of Chancery determined that it was entered an order that it would be in the best interests of all the heirs to maximize value to sell the property as a unit. And so a process was put in place to appoint a trustee, Louis Pritzker, to sell the property as part of the partition action. When that didn't result in a sale after a number of years, to fast forward, the last hearing before the Court of Chancery in June of 2023, Vice Chancellor Glasscock made it clear to my client, Gwen Rinaldi, who's here, that was present in the courtroom, as well as Patricia Gibbs was in the courtroom, along with her husband, that if the partition action wasn't going to result in a private sale, he gave the parties some additional time to decide if they can come to some agreement as to how to sell the property privately, or he was likely going to enter an order to have the property sold at sheriff's sale, at a public sale, which likely would not have been in the best interest of all the heirs. So finally, I just want to make three points to wrap this up that I think will be helpful, because this came up previously at the Planning Commission. And those 3 points are, what resulted from that hearing was an agreement by all 4 owners to enter into an irrevocable limited power of attorney for a period of 2 years, so there'd be a process by which the property could be sold privately. And so those 3 issues, and that was signed by all 4 of the heirs, and I witnessed and notarized the signature by Patricia Gibbs. So those 3 issues are, that I want to mention that I've heard come up is whether everyone understood what they were signing, whether there was any duress as a part of what they were signing, and whether this application is in the best interest of all the heirs, or the sale itself is in the best interest of all the heirs. And that's really the most important issue. So fortunately, they did agree to a private process to avoid a sheriff's sale, and that resulted in the agent, Louis Pritzker, who's here, engaging a commercial real estate broker, Gary Betty, he's here, and to solicit offers. And there were no, broadly, nationally, and there were no offers that came in from anyone under its current zoning. The offers that came in were from residential developers. And the best offer that came in was we felt was most qualified is this K. Hovnanian Group. They're national, reputable. I think they're going to develop a really nice project. That's for future, further hearings. I know it's not for this hearing. But I'm trying to zone in on this, what's in the best interest of the heirs issue. And that their agreement to enter into the limited power of attorney, all four of them, to avoid the public sale by the Court of Chancery is really working in their best interest, for all four of them. And they're under contract, again, with K. Hovnanian, very reputable builder. I think it's going to be a nice project. And so ultimately that's, why I think they understood what they were signing. There was no duress amongst themselves to do it this way and why it's in their best interest. With that, I'd like to let my client, Gwen Rinaldi, tell you that herself directly, unless anyone has any, questions.
Any questions? Any questions from questions? Any questions? No. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
I believe Ms. Rinaldi is coming forward. Please give us your name, your address, be sworn or affirmed unless you're an attorney.
I am not. My name is Gwen Rinaldi. My address is 1623 Madeira Avenue, Jenkintown, Pennsylvania.
Ma'am, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir. I'm just here on behalf of myself and my sisters to say that we are very much in favor of this rezoning, that it will absolutely benefit our family, and we are happy about the opportunity to sell the property to K. Hovnanian. And that's all I have to say.
Any questions? Commissioners have any questions? Doesn't appear so. Thank you. Thank you for driving down.
So to wrap this up, we have approval or recommendation of approval from the planning staff. We have a recommendation of approval from the Planning Commission. I know that recently the Levy Court is looking at an ordinance, I believe in December, to increase density for AC and AR. I know that doesn't apply to this project, but with the intent purpose of increasing density, lowering the cost of developing to try to get more affordable homes into Kent County. And I know that our incoming governor has also put out as part of his platform that there needs to be increased density in housing developments, particularly in Kent and Sussex County, again, to help reduce the cost of actually building them and try to make them more affordable for first-time home buyers. And that's really what we're looking at doing with this project, is looking at another first-time home buyer community within Kent County. So with that, if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. At the conclusion of the public hearing portion of this, if you have any follow-up questions based on anything else that you may hear, I would love to have the opportunity to come up and give you an answer to that if we have one, or try to get one from part of the team that we have here tonight. Do you guys have any questions?
Any questions? Any questions? Questions? No? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for that presentation. Anyone else in favor of this project, this rezoning, please come forward. Anyone else in favor, please come forward. Anyone online, Mark, in favor?
If there's anyone joining us online that would like to speak in favor of this project, please indicate by raising your electronic hand. Or if you're joining us by phone, please press *3. I see no hands raised online, Mr. President.
Thank you. At this time, we will give the opportunity to those that may be opposed to this ordinance, LC 24-26, to come forward and give us information as to why they are opposed. Anyone opposed, please come forward. And as before, please state your name, your address, and be sworn or affirmed unless you're an attorney.
I'm not an attorney.
Okay, name and address, please.
Pardon? Yes,
Name and
Patricia Ellery Gibbs, Mrs. And I live at 3431 South DuPont Boulevard, Smyrna, Delaware, 19977.
All right, and be sworn or affirmed by the attorney, please.
Ma'am, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. Thank you. And good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you all. I think I'd like to clarify one thing to start with. My parents were Dorothy and Lawrence Ellery. My brother was Lawrence Ellery Jr. He had no Gibbs involved in his name. I'm married to a Gibbs. I would just like to reiterate my testimony before the Regional Zoning Commission and my oral statement with a letter delivered to Jamie Fenske that this application should never have been accepted by Kent County Planning Department and Planning and Zoning Department. I am the owner of record of the Ellery Farm, and I am in possession of it. The Kent County Planning and Zoning Department does not know the correct acreage of the Ellery Farm. Ms. Fenske told me in person in August that the boundaries are not important to them, even though she showed me a map of them at the time. My parents, Dorothy and Lawrence Ellery, signed for BG back many, many years ago, and it's never been changed since. There has always been a family business and businesses located on the property. Now, currently, they're talking about this property being overgrown and not useful. It was farmed for a period of time, and also there was a wholesale nursery on it. Now, a lot of soil went out of there. I happen to be an ag major, graduated from the University of Delaware, and am proud of it. And I was one of the first women in the first group that did. And one thing any of you know, when you've been raised on a farm, you want to keep the soil that you got there. Okay, so a lot of soil left. Now, the advantage of having things grow up for a number of years is that you get organic matter going back into the soil. If there's anything that you really don't want in the soil, this is sandy loam, and so it washes away. A lot of it does. So the ground there is usable still, and it's very fertile, and it's a good farm, and we want to continue doing agriculture on that farm. This talk about, how many people are involved in this farm, any farm, it has to do with the farm being passed from one generation to the next, and there are a number of people with interests in this farm, not just my brother's 3 daughters, but any of their children that are of age have an interest in this farm. My children also, I have a son who has 6 children. They are all of age. They have an interest in this farm. They want to be active in this farm. We want regenerative agriculture. If you have housing all around in these areas, you want local food that you know who's producing it and how it's being raised. And that is what we want to do. We want to be part of this community, part of this state, actively. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Gibbs. Any commissioners have any questions? Any commissioners? Thank you, ma'am. No questions. Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else opposed to this ordinance LC 24-26? Please come forward. And please give us your name, your address, and be sworn or affirmed, please, unless you're an attorney.
My name is Aurora Gibbs. My address is 3431 South DuPont Boulevard, Smyrna, Delaware, 19977.
Ma'am, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I affirm. I just wanted to bring up several things. My grandpa Ellery made an application for valuation, assessment, and taxation of land under the Farmland Assessment Act of 1968 on the 5th of May, 1987. It was accepted, and our property tax bill still reflects that. Our family has always had commercial zoning on our property fronting Route 13, maybe not quite as much as we do now, but we've always had commercial zoning. It has always been a lucrative business property for our family. We are also up to date on our property tax bill. So I would not believe you would have to sell I don't think there would be a reason for that. And as my mother brought up, there are other heirs with legal interests in the property. And I live on our family's property. I am in residence and possession. I'm not for downzoning. And there are some issues with our boundary. And the property under Route 1 on our farm, we have found, is not titled to the estate. It is all easement. So that might be the reason why no one's offering for the property right now. Thank you.
Any questions? Any questions from the commissioners? Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Anyone else who may be here opposed to ordinance LC 24-26? Please come forward. Anyone else opposed? Seeing no one in the chambers here. Anyone online opposed? Mark?
If there's any of our guests online that would like to speak in opposition to LC 2426, please indicate by raising your electronic hand or pressing *3 if you're joining us by phone. Still no hands raised online, Mr. President.
Thank you. Any commissioners have any questions of staff or anyone before I close the public hearing? Seeing none, at this time, we'll close the public hearing, and I'll turn ordinance LC 24-26 over to Commissioner Maston for a motion.
I move to approve ordinance LC 24-26, amending the zoning map from BG General Business Highway Commercial to RM Multifamily Residential, High-Density Residential located inside the Growth Zone Overlay District. This is based on Exhibit A, RPC recommendation report dated November 19, 2024. Exhibit B, public hearing testimony dated October 3, 2024, and November 7, 2024, public hearing testimony given tonight, and the findings of fact that A, the subject site is designed as a residential development area in the 2018 Comprehensive Plan, Map 7C. The parcel is located primarily in Investment Level 2 on the 2020 Strategies for State Policies and Spending Map. C, the parcel is located between Route 13 and SR1 with an existing residential development to the north and to the south.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Maston to approve, which was seconded by Commissioner Scott. Any commissioners have any questions on the motion? Any commissioners? Seeing none, Mr. Naka, can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Angel?
Yes, reasons stated by Commissioner Masson.
Mr. Hall?
Yes, based on staff and RPC recommendations.
Mr. Hertz?
Yes, based on staff recommendations.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes, for reasons stated. My motion.
Mr. Scott?
Yes, based on staff and RPC's recommendations.
Mr. Sweeney?
No.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes, based on all the reasons stated prior to my vote.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 6 yeas, 1 nay.
Thank you. Roll call reveals ordinance LC 24-26 has been approved by Levy Court. Okay, thank you, everyone. The next public hearing is resolution regarding issuance of bonds benefiting certain projects in the county. It falls under Commissioner Hall, and I understand that our regular counsel, Emily, is not here, and of course Craig is not here, but online we have David Handler, who is bond counsel for the matter. Mr. Handler, you have the floor, sir.
Oh, well, thank you, and thank you very much for having me here tonight. As you indicated, my name is David Handler. I'm with the law firm of Hawkins, Delafield, and Wood. We are serving as bond counsel to the Public Finance Authority of Wisconsin. The Public Finance Authority of Wisconsin is a conduit bond issuing authority with multi-jurisdictional powers and seeks now to issue tax-exempt bonds for the benefit of Imperium, Inc. Imperium is a Pennsylvania-based nonprofit corporation. They are also a 501c3 under the tax code. So they are able to benefit from the loaning of tax-exempt bond proceeds. And as indicated, the bond proceeds will be issued by the Public Finance Authority of Wisconsin. Part of one of the requirements for purposes of authorization for a bond financing under the tax code, specifically Section 147F of the tax code, the Internal Revenue Code, I should say, requires that we have public hearings and obtain local approval. So even though the host, I'm sorry, not the host, but rather the issuing authority is based in Wisconsin, Imperium operates across the country. As I said, they are based in Pennsylvania, but they have operations in a variety of jurisdictions, including all 3 counties in Delaware, of course, including Kent County as well. So as part of the requirements in terms of getting our approvals, we need to obtain local host approval in each county where Imperium does operate and does business, and where they will be using bond proceeds to fund certain projects. The projects that Imperium is looking to fund at this point are notably a refinancing of a taxable loan, or a portion of that taxable loan that was used for the acquisition of Connexio Co., another organization that operates in Kent County, or in Delaware, I should say, throughout the state. In addition, Imperium is looking to use bond proceeds for a variety of capital expenditures for various construction-related projects, renovations, and equipping of their facilities throughout the county. So as part of our requirements under the code, we are having this local hearing to provide the public with an opportunity to comment if they have anything to say with regard to an objection to the issuance of the bonds, or anything that they want to add. The tax code does require that we provide a publication, which we've done via the Kent County, the Levy Court's website, 7 days prior, and give the members of the public an opportunity to come and comment as to this matter. So that's really the purpose. I should say the amount of the financing, which is a total of $180 million. The total amount of bond proceeds that will be spent in Kent County will not exceed $2.5 million. It'll be under $2.5 million. And I think it's also important to note that the bonds will be the sole obligation of Imperium. And as the obligor, they will be responsible for paying debt service on the bonds. Kent County, the state of Delaware, the state of Wisconsin, any other governmental jurisdiction will not be liable on the debt in any way. So I guess with that, I do have with me, I'm not sure, unfortunately, his connection's a little poor, Ellie Scheiman, who's a representative of Imperium. And I'm not sure if he can hear me. Hopefully he can. I told him if he couldn't hear me, then to maybe call me on my phone and I can patch him in via speaker. Ellie, can you hear me?
I can, Dave. I'm here if you can hear me.
Yep, I can hear you. Great.
Yep.
So Ellie represents Imperium. So I think with that, if the board has any questions for us, we'd be happy to answer. But if not, then I think we would like to invite members of the public to comment. And hopefully, if there are no comments, then we can conclude the hearing, and we request that the approval be granted.
Thank you. Any commissioners have any questions? Commissioner Masson?
Mr. Handler, just a point of clarification on this. If I'm to believe this is all Kent County projects, correct?
Yes. The purpose of this hearing is with regard to Kent County projects. They're in Camden, Smyrna, Harrington, and Dover.
That being
but
the
yes.
case, sorry, Mr. Handler, that being the case, Smyrna, a lot of Smyrna is Kent County, but 676 Black Diamond Road is Newcastle County. Anytime you go past the McDonald's in Smyrna over Duck Creek, you're going into Newcastle County. So just a point of clarification.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think we did have a similar hearing in Newcastle County, and it was addressed, but I think that might be, unfortunately, we duplicated that in our notice, so that would have been covered by the Newcastle hearing. But thank you.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners have any questions? Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a question for Ms. Durham. And just for the record, I want to understand that the bonds, the total aggregate amount is $180 million, but only $2.5 million of that is allocated to Kent County. True?
That's correct. The projects that will be funded in Kent County, the amount will not exceed, it's an aggregate maximum par amount of $2.5 million.
Okay, thank you. And Susan, have we discussed this? Did I miss something? I don't recall these projects, and
no, we don't discuss it. This is just a formality of, they just have to have a public hearing through an entity like us. We really have nothing, no input to it except providing the vessel to do it.
Okay.
If I might add, but by way of clarification, that's exactly right. I mean, this is the tax code does require us to have local host hearings and get local host approval for all projects. I think in mind, it's typically you most frequently see this when you have a bond that's being issued, maybe either through the county or another state issuing authority for a big project that might be happening. So you want to give the public time to an opportunity to come and comment. So when you're doing a multi-jurisdictional issue with an issuer out of state, we're still required to get this type of approval in any county where we're going to be spending bond proceeds. So these are going to be, it's a refunding for an acquisition by this organization, Imperium, that specializes in behavioral health facilities and social support services. And in addition, and they're also looking to do certain capital projects, but mostly construction improvement of property that they currently already own. So just some driveway resurfacing, landscaping, roof replacement, and the like. But as just indicated, this is really more, it should be viewed as more of a formality. I wouldn't expect that anybody would be here to object to this. But of course, if they are, we're all ears.
Okay, thank you both. And I'll just make the observation that I don't have a draft motion here, so I'll do the best I can.
Well, it really was through Emily Nine and our bond counsel and stuff. We played no role except to post it on an agenda, so I wasn't, sorry.
Commissioner Sweeney and Commissioner Hertz.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Handler, so Imperium has projects in all three counties, so you have to have public hearings in all three counties?
That's correct. We've had the approval was granted in Sussex County in March, and then the Newcastle County approval was granted. I want to say November. I want to say it was the 12th. I believe it was the 12th.
Okay.
So those have occurred. Yes.
Thanks.
Which hurts.
Yeah, so these properties, you're turning them into basically halfway houses. Am I understanding that right, for substance abuse and mental health?
Oh, I don't think we're turning them into that. I mean, I'll actually let Ellie comment on these specific properties. I think they were operated for, I'm not sure exactly if Connexio specializes in behavioral health or other social support services. But whatever it was that they did before, they were purchased by Imperium in the acquisition that occurred. So there's a refinancing being done of that purchase that occurred a couple of years ago, as well as now some additional improvements to those properties. But Ellie, if you want to comment on the specific nature of these properties.
Yeah, I don't have a ton to add, but these are facilities that are being used for mental health related services and substance use disorder. So this is literally just the refinancing, like David had mentioned, as well as just a funding source for capital improvements to the properties that we already own. So there's no change in the use of the properties. They're already pre-existing for those services that we just talked about.
So they're already actively being used in this capacity, and you're just improving, getting bonds to improve the property and refinance them?
Exactly correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from commissioners? None? Okay. At this time, We will, unless commissioners have any further questions, we'll open the public hearing on this item. Public hearing for revenue bonds to be issued by the Public Finance Authority of Wisconsin for the benefit of certain projects in this county, Kent County. So at this time, we'll ask anyone who may be in the audience who may be in favor of this to please come forward and give us testimony as to why. Anybody in favor, please come forward. Mark, anyone online?
If there's anyone joining us online that would like to speak in favor of this hearing item, please indicate by raising your electronic hand. See no hands raised, Mr. President.
Thank you. At this time, anyone that is opposed to this item before Levy Court, please come forward. Anyone opposed, please come forward. Seeing none, anyone online opposed?
If there's anyone joining us online that would like to speak in opposition to this hearing item, please indicate by raising your electronic hand. Still no hands raised, Mr. President.
Thank you. Any commissioners have any questions before I close the public hearing? Okay, we will close the public hearing, and I'll turn this item over to Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to approve the revenue bonds to be issued by the Public Finance Authority for the benefit of certain projects in Kent County.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Hall, second by Commissioner Masson to approve. Anyone have any questions on the motion? Seeing none, can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Angel?
Yes, no opposition, and staff recommends yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Hertz?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Scott? Absent. Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 6 yeas, 1 absent.
Thank you. Roll call reveals motion passed. That'll close our public hearings for this evening. There's no old business. Under new business, the first item has been removed earlier. The potential action items from the previous workshop under Commissioner Sweeney. You have 2 items, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. The first one is the bid award for the Goggin Manor Architectural Historical Architect. I move to accept staff recommendation that Barton, Ross and Partners LLC of Chestertown, Maryland is the most qualified respondent to the request for qualifications process and authorize the county administrator to negotiate a cost proposal for their services of architectural, engineering, project management, and grant administration services for stabilization and exterior renovation of the historic Goggin Manor project, and furthermore authorize the President of Levy Court to sign the resulting cost proposal.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Sweeney, second by Commissioner Hertz. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Hertz?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Roll call reveals motion passed. Item number 2, Commissioner Sweeney.
Thank you, sir. This also was moved from the preceding workshop. This is to install automatic parking gates at all of our parks. Move to award the automatic park gate construction project to Mid-Atlantic Entry of Abington, Maryland for $75,898 with funding from the Community Reinvestment Fund CRF FY23 grant.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Sweeney to approve and a second by Commissioner Maston. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Hertz?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Roll call reveals motion passed. Next item, Commissioner Hertz.
Yeah, this was moved from workshop also. It's to move to award a contract to provide 3 septic receiving drum screens and auxiliary equipment to Cleantech Water Solutions LLC in the amount of $594,000. Funding is ARPA SLFRF funds, and authorize Levy Court President to execute the associated contract documents.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Hertz, second by Commissioner Scott to approve. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Hertz?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Roll call reveals the motion passed. Next items, Commissioner Angel, we have 3 items there.
Thank you. Any further questions on GIS? I move to award the contract for GIS administration to Geograph IT of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, in the amount of not to exceed $50,000 with a contract date start of January 1st, 2025, and initial contract expiration date of December 31st, 2025, and which said contract may be extended on an annual basis for up to 2 additional calendar years upon the mutual consent of the vendor and the county. I further move to authorize and direct the President of Levy Court to execute said contract on behalf of Levy Court.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Angel, second by Commissioner Sweeney. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Angel?
Well, as you know, I told you I was not going to be voting for this. I'm a big believer in GIS is going the wrong way, the way we're doing this, and outsourcing, so I'm not voting.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Hertz?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 6 yeas, 1 not voting.
Thank you. Roll call reveals the motion passed. Next item, number 2.
The network backup contract expansion. I move to approve a 2-year expansion of Unitrends backup and cloud storage service contract from CDWG for a total of $29,603.70 with funding from the IT hardware software maintenance operating budget with 2 payments of $13,887.93 and $15,715.37.
Or
Second.
whatever that is. Second.
All right. Any questions on the motion? Motion by Commissioner Angel to approve, I believe it was second by Commissioner Scott. Any questions? Seeing none, can we have roll call again, please?
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Hertz?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Roll call reveals motion passed. Item number 3.
Thank you. I move to approve the SLCGP grant and the acting county administrator, Kevin Sipple, to digitally accept on behalf of Kent County Levy Court.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Angel, second by Commissioner Sweeney to approve. Any questions? Seeing none, can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Hertz?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Roll call reveals motion passed. Commissioner Hall, you have 1 item, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to approve the reallocation of the ARPA SLFRF funds in the amount of $500,000 from the at-risk nonprofit grant program recipient Dover Interfaith Mission to the Kent County EMS substation project.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Hall, second by Commissioner Scott to approve. Any questions? Any questions? Seeing none, can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Hertz?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
I was absent from the November 12th workshop, so I am abstaining.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 6 yeas, 1 abstaining.
Thank you. Roll call reveals motion passed. Commissioner Scott, you have one item?
Thank you, Mr. President. The Kent County Department of Public Safety recommends the following. I move that the bid award for construction of the Harrington and Frederica EMS stations, along with the storage building for the county command vehicle, be granted to Bancroft Construction for the total sum of $5,322,200. I further move to authorize the President of the Levy Court to execute the necessary contracts.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Scott, second by Commissioner Masson to approve the bid award. Any questions? Seeing none, can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Hertz?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Roll call reveals motion passed. That's the end of the potential action items from the earlier workshop. And Commissioner Masson, looks like you have 3 introductions there.
Introduction of Resolution 4080, a resolution to extend the Kent County Stormwater Maintenance District pursuant to Chapter 52, Title 9 of the Delaware Code and Section 90.4E10, Chapter 187 of the Kent County Code. Massey's Mill for public hearing on Tuesday, December 17, 2024 at 7 p.m. Introduction of Resolution 4081, a resolution to extend the Kent County Stormwater Maintenance District pursuant to Chapter 52, Title 9 of the Delaware Code and Section 90.4E10, Chapter 187 of the Kent County Code, Schoolhouse Village for public hearing on Tuesday, January 28, 2025 at 7 p.m. Introduction of Ordinance LC 2431, an ordinance amending Chapter 128, Article 11, fees enumerated, Section 128-42, Department of Planning Services to establish the annual stormwater maintenance district fee charged by the levy court beginning in fiscal year 2026, tax year 2025, for public hearing on Tuesday, December 17, 2024 at 7 p.m. Back to you, Mr. President.
Thank you for those. Commissioner Angel, you have one item under other business.
Move to go in executive session immediately following the business meeting for a preliminary discussion on site acquisition for publicly funded capital improvement, legal strategy session regarding collective bargaining or pending or potential litigation, and personal matters pursuant to 29 Del Code 10004, B2, 4, and 9, from which we will return.
Thank you. We do have executive session this evening, very, very brief. So we will be leaving after the conclusion of the meeting and not coming back. Next item, information items.
Second.
Mr. President, you said...
Motion by Commissioner Angel, second by Commissioner Sweeney.
Sorry, Mr. President, you said we will be coming back or we will not. His motion was that we would.
Amending, we will not.
Amend your motion to, we will not be returning.
Amended.
Second.
Okay, need a motion. Okay. Can we have a roll call, please, on the motion, please? Or on the amended motion, I should say.
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Hertz?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 7 yeas.
Thank you. Roll call reveals motion passed. The information items, any information items? Seeing none, any public comments? Any public comments? Mark, anybody online?
If there's anyone joining us online that would like to make public comments at this time, please indicate by raising your electronic hand. See no hands raised, Mr. President.
Thank you. Any commissioner comments? Mr. Maston?
Just a reminder, tomorrow night, 7 p.m., Hartley Firehouse for distributions of checks to fire service.
Thank you. Any other? Okay. At this time, need a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. President.
Executive session. By Commissioner Angel, Commissioner Scott. All in favor, aye? Any opposed? Okay. We'll have a brief exec.
Hey, Terry.